Welcome back, O seekers of the forbidden. In this unholy gathering, we reveal further revelations of the Bornless, that formless presence lurking beyond mortal comprehension. These are not improvements but deeper incursions into the abyss, each unveiling a key wrenched from eternity's locked vaults. Beware, what you gain in knowledge, you lose in sanity. For the Bornless does not enlighten, it devours. Prepare yourselves, for you are no longer witnesses, but participants in the unraveling. Let us commence this descent into altered design. The first of these profane metamorphoses, the interface itself. No longer the sterile visage it once bore, but now cloaked in hues both lurid and insidious, its pathways clearer, its allure more treacherously inviting. Weapons of divergent rarity proclaim their essence through colors too vivid, too unnatural, making the act of looting and hoarding all the swifter, whether amidst the chaos of the field or the dubious safety of the stronghold. The machinery of matchmaking, too, has been transfigured. Once a cold and indifferent process, it now pulses with an unsettling warmth, brighter, cozier, and yet somehow whispering of unseen corridors beyond mortal comprehension. And, as though the madness were not already complete, the edifice of construction, the building interface, has been reshaped, improved, and rendered into a form both more efficient and more dreadful in its subtle invitation to linger. The characters of Farmouth. The faces of Farmouth return, heroes, villains, and all writhing between. Yet time in the choking mist warps every soul. What was once familiar now trembles at the edge of nightmare, reshaped by whispers no mortal ear should hear. Each step upon its black soil is a pact, each breath of its fog a bargain. Carta and Bobo, a witch who barters her soul, and the shadow-bound servant shackled to her flame. Harry and Denzel, detectives hardened by fog and crime, pitting their waning humanity against demons and the curse that coils around Farmouth Island. Eduardo and Joan, farmers left hollow with grief and vengeance, their land consumed by Phoenix's flock, their hearts smoldering with wrath. Catherine and Zora, Vatican hunters, forged in holy fire, their faith fraying as heaven's voice grows faint. Sarah and Milton, a rider clad in steel and her bookish companion, bound together by loyalty, hunger, and a road of sin. But Farmouth does not forgive intrusion. Mortals who linger are dragged beneath its abyssal tide, and even memory of them begins to rot, leaving only husks in the minds of those who once loved them. The corrupted. No one wars with darkness without surrendering something vital. In Farmouth, the abyss takes its due, reshaping heroes into horrors. Carta, the witch, and Bobo the Black Widow and her companion. Harry and Denzel the Hollow. Eduardo and Joan the Ashen. Catherine and Zora the Martyrs. Sarah and Milton the Cursed Riders. Unlocking these forms is no triumph, but a scar, the mark of those who endured the abyss and did not return whole. The transformation is a hymn sung backward, and the abyss always remembers its verses. The forsaken God and his children. The heavens are silent. God has fled, or been consumed. Angels, abandoned, sought to craft obedient heirs. Without divine hand, their works curdled into horror. Thus came the Shuggoths, ravenous, eternal. And their malformed kin, cast down upon Farmouth like refuse. The stillborn, motionless until seen, mouths forever screaming in silence. The brains, severed, gnashing, endlessly hungry. The growths and tentacles, blind, writhing husks of angelic flesh. The wardens, vast eyes whose gaze sears with fractured wrath. These are not creations, but errors. Proof that even heaven faltered, and angels themselves drowned in hubris. And still, they whisper, as though rehearsing a prayer that no longer has a God to hear it. Their murmurs creep into dreams, weaving despair into the marrow. The warning of Farmouth. To walk Farmouth is to risk becoming the dark. Heroes twist to horrors, prayers sour to curses, angels rot into abominations. The longer one lingers, the more the abyss claims. When the corrupted rise, demons hesitate, seeing themselves reflected in mortal ruin. And humanity beholds a single, terrible omen. God has abandoned you. The abyss has not. Within the baleful mists of Falmouth, the struggle of seeker against seeker festers like an open wound. Here, amidst blighted fields and suffocating ruins, the rites of combat unfold. Some arenas close in upon you, walls pressing with suffocating intimacy, while others sprawl into desolate cornfields where the stalks whisper of things that should not stir. Yet each battleground is more than mere soil and stone. It is a living shrine to strife, a stage upon which unseen watchers hunger for spectacle. The air itself seems to curdle with anticipation, and every footstep echoes like the toll of a distant bell, announcing your frailty to the abyss. Dare you step forth, mortal, to clutch the three profane sigils, and with them seal the doom of your fellow wanderers? To claim them is to wield a terrible covenant, a power that binds fates in chains of ash and blood. But beware. For those who linger too long in the contest find their wills unspooled, their minds gnawed hollow by the whispers of the island, until they can no longer tell whether they battle their rivals, or the specters that Falmouth itself has raised against them. The unleashing of the abyssal host. From the torn veil of reality they emerge, demons unbound, bearing four profane faculties. Each infernal entity clutches a kit, a primary strike of hunger, a secondary art of cruelty, and two alternate blasphemies the mind recoils from. No longer crude phantoms, these horrors are refined, perfected through nightmare's alchemy. They move swifter than shadow, strike with unearthly strength, and revel in the pursuit of those hapless seekers who trespass upon their dominion. What havoc shall you conjure in demon flesh? What tides of chaos will unfurl beneath your hand? Time alone shall reveal it, but the world will remember only screams, and the stain of that which was unleashed. In the ashen wastes of the Bornless, the clash of demons and seekers is no mere battle, it is a convulsion of reality itself. Demons, spawned from the abyss, descend with flame and shrieking hunger, their forms twisting the air into madness. The seekers, fragile yet defiant, stand armed with sigils and forbidden rites, each step a prayer against annihilation. The ground heaves beneath their struggle, shadows writhe as if eager to swallow the victor whole. No light of sun nor star pierces the storm above, for the very heavens recoil from this war. In such conflict, triumph is meaningless, for both demon and mortal alike are but pawns in a greater, unseen horror, an ancient watcher whose name is lost to time, feasting upon every scream, every death, and every fleeting spark of defiance. Into the grim litany of battle, the implements of violence have been reshaped. The melee, once bound by awkward rites, now cleaves with dreadful immediacy. Gone is the sluggish gathering of power. Instead, swift profane strikes rain down, while each weapon conceals a singular right-hand attack, bound to its own covenant with the abyss. When steel finds flesh, crimson libations spill forth, staining both victim and wielder, as though the darkness itself anoints them. Droplets linger like a halo of desecration, marking each clash as a sacrament of violence. With each impact, reality falters. Hitstop seizes time, a dreadful heartbeat between worlds, forcing all to feel the weight of every strike. Chain blows unfold like a ritual dance, sharpened with malignant clarity, as if guided by unseen priests of some elder faith. What was once combat is now ceremony. Each swing a verse, each strike a stanza, each kill a prayer answered by something vast and eternally hungry. And though the foe falls, it is the wielder who is marked, for in Falmouth's shadow, no blade cuts without a price. The developers, those unseen custodians of the lattice of code, have stirred in their hidden sanctums. Heeding the cries of countless wanderers, they have wrought changes heavy with an otherworldly gravity, as though they had whispered bargains with things that slumbered beyond the veil. The strange buoyancy that once plagued movement has ebbed, as if the geometry of this realm itself has been corrected. Weapons, once hollow phantasms, now rest in the hand with dreadful weight, not mere steel, but star-fallen burdens that seem to pulse faintly, as though eager for blood. To peer down the sights is no longer a sterile act. Each weapon sways with its own rhythm, some subtle as a fevered breath, others lurching with the delirium of madness. They do not simply obey, they respond, alive with an uncanny will, binding bearer and blade in a communion that feels more pact than practice. This grim correction seeps into the melee as well. Strikes no longer carry the emptiness of dream, but thunder with the brutality of ages forgotten, each blow awakening echoes of primordial carnage beneath alien skies. The air itself seems to shudder in recognition, as though recalling rites of violence older than mankind. The world now feels heavier, more real, yet reality itself wavers, its edges fraying beneath unseen scrutiny. In every sway and every strike there lingers the sense of vast eyes watching, patient and amused, as though the illusion of control were but a kindness. The veil has shifted, if only slightly, and to call further upon it would be to beckon what waits in the abyss, something ancient, vast, and merciless, whose name is better left unspoken, yet whose presence now coils faintly through every motion, every strike, every breath. With that, I consign you to the abyssal theater of war. May your mind not shatter, nor your soul be devoured by the unseen geometries that coil beyond mortal sight. And if there be such a thing as favor, may it turn its eldritch gaze upon you, though it knows not mercy as man does.